So welcome back. Next up is Mr. Yanchev, and he's going to tell you all about MClimate. Enjoy his talk.
Hello, my name is Lyubomir Yanchev and I'm the CEO of MClimate. Today I'm going to be talking about the opportunities on the residential market, with LoRaWAN especially, and what has been our success recipe in this market. First, a couple of words about our company. So first, we incorporated MClimate back in 2014. We started as a B2C company primarily, or I would say purely. We wanted to develop smart home products that make the lives of the customers easier. But then in 2019, we got really interested in LoRaWAN, and mainly because of the battery life, because of the distance of communication, we decided to start developing some of our existing products, converting them into LoRaWAN, developing new products, and right now, an year and almost 2 years later, I would say, we have more than 200 buildings equipped with our smart products. So smart buildings, and we also have really interesting partners. We work with so different types of companies, but ESCO companies, so energy service companies, facility managers, telecoms, utilities, and some others. I'm not going to be talking about our portfolio, but it's mainly divided into three main groups. So one, it's energy efficiency, then water control and damage prevention, and actionable air quality. So for example, this here, it's a product that is installed on a radiator valve, and you can adjust the temperature of the valve from here. We have, for example, a LoRaWAN water valve, and some others. But the thing with basically smart buildings is most people tend to focus on government-owned buildings, like public buildings, schools, hospitals, etc. Office buildings as well play a really big role in the smart buildings. But people tend to forget about the residential complexes, the big buildings with many flats in them. And I believe there is some really untapped opportunity there. As you can see, actually there are more residential buildings than non-residential. So there's more floor space for them. They tend to use less energy per square meter compared to office buildings. But there's really big opportunity there to add value and then to also generate a lot of business for you. So when we take a look at the energy consumption in the household, more than half of it goes for space heating. This is why one of our products was focused on space heating, controlling with radiators. And there are all types of space heating. Then about 15% for water heating. The thing I want to add here is that it really depends on the market, especially what kind of solution you want to offer. So I would advise you to first analyze the market, do some customer development, and figure out where LoRaWAN can really add value with a long battery lifetime, with a big range of communication. Where can it add value? Because, for example, in some countries, it could be really beneficial to monitor the ventilation or something else, some type of other equipment in the building. So don't be fooled by this graph. There are a lot of things and you should analyze, but you should definitely keep in mind also the energy consumption and where it goes. So the market trends are that first, the Earth is having a hard time keeping up with us, and our sometimes restless energy use or relentless. The thing is, why we're doing that? Because we have to. I have two main goals. First, to enhance the comfort of the tenants with my products to make their life a little bit more comfortable, easier, to save them time. But the really big answer to the question why for me, it's because I can really make an impact on the environment by basically utilizing the residential market and smart devices to optimize the energy consumption. Second, the smart home and smart devices become more and more popular and easily adopted. I'm talking about a market sized in billions annually, growing about 10, 15, 20, depends on which market research you consult yourself with. But really growing market, the thing there is that most of the technologies, the RF technologies, are based on Zigbee, Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, which don't offer really good battery life. So LoRaWAN really shines here. There are a lot of advantages, like, for example, this device survives 10 years on batteries. And if we had it on Wi-Fi, it wouldn't have been even a year, I would say. Um, Second, the households definitely look for a return on investment for, I would say, 5 years, sometimes more, depends on the size of the investment. But if you figure out a solution that can return their investment initially for less than 5 years, in some cases it's even an year. It really depends. For example, for the space heating, if you optimize it a lot, then you can get the ROI for an year. But households, when they make the investments for energy savings, they really look ahead in time and don't mind spending some extra money if they're gonna get cheaper bills, for example, in I don't know, 5 years. And something that we see a lot is that people tend to easily buy devices that increase their comfort. They are having a bit harder time buying devices or services that enhance their energy efficiency. I think this will change in the future, but this is basic human psychology. Obviously, they want to feel more comfortable than have to think about, okay, I'm gonna be like saving like 30 euro this month. Um, so this is something to keep in mind when you're developing your solutions. But here I want to say that also residential customers are quite different from office buildings, for example. So a residential customer might not necessarily need a dashboard even. It's really nice to have a dashboard, but it's definitely not a must for them. It could really add value for example, the facility management company, but it's kind of hard to get on a computer, take a look at things. So I would advise on focusing on mobile applications and how to involve them in the process to control your appliances, to get notifications, etc., etc. Second, from our experience, people don't really need a lot of sensors in the residential market. They mostly need actions or actionable items, so to say. So even if I know what is the temperature at home, that's really nice, but what kind of value does it add to my specific daily routine? And whereas where you have an actuator, the value of it, it's quite obvious. And for the residential market, it's really important also to have to offer support in the local language, because there are all kinds of flavors, if I could say that, of customers, of tenants. Some of them are really technical savvy, some of them refuse to kind of adopt a new technology for one reason or another. But you should definitely have somebody to talk to them in your language, in their local language. Couple of example solutions that we have identified. Some of them we have also developed solutions. But first, if we remember the graph from earlier, space heating is one of the biggest. It really depends on what type of heating is mostly used in this country. So is it heating with radiators? Is it heating with heat pumps, etc.? But this is a big part because the ROI is really short. Then obviously cooling control and monitoring, in some cases even predictive maintenance, it's an important thing. And if, for example, you can allow them to set schedules ahead of time, this could really, with a simple solution, you can save them a lot. Even if you save them, let's say 10%, which is not that much, with time this really builds up to, not only save money, but also save CO2. The third example solution that we have identified is ventilation monitoring and also predictive maintenance. Monitoring, for example, the air quality there, the operation of the ventilation. Really interesting, not really present in a lot of markets, but for some markets it's really applicable. So again, adding here, it doesn't really matter what I say here right now. It matters. It mostly matters what are the opportunities in your country, because buildings are different. we cannot think of a solution that works absolutely everywhere. For example, I mean, I could say that the CO2 sensor works everywhere, but an actuator that controls something, it's really hard to, have a single device that controls all types of, let's say, heating systems. So really take a deep look into your market, and I think there's somebody behind you looking, and try to figure out, what is the viable solution in your case. Um, Last but not least, it's the flood detection and water damage prevention. So if you have flood sensors in your building and you're monitoring for floods, you can obviously, take actions and cut the water supply. So you prevent a larger problem. A couple of things from one of the markets that we operate in. About 50% of their residents' CO2 emission come from heating. So it's a big part where it can be optimized for the good of the earth. About 74% of the people want to save on their heating, but 50% of all the interviewed people don't actually steer their heating. So they leave it on like that. It's the specifics of the country, but they leave it on like that. And if they're too hot, they just open a window. In a lot of countries where there is district heating, there are a lot of problems with balancing the heat network. So this really, adds to people not really wanting to touch their heating network because they think that they're not going to be able to get it into normal operation afterwards. So it works. We're working with solutions with buildings anywhere between 1920 and 1975. Small, big buildings. The thing that we do there is we install the thermostatic valves. The general assembly of the building agrees on a heating schedule that should be preset for all the apartments. Everybody can definitely override that if they wish, but setting this schedule in the beginning really helps saving energy over time. And here the savings are about between 15 and 33%, which give an ROI of about 2 to 3 years. And I think that it's really nice that more than 70% of the customers there have adopted the mobile application. So that's really important for the residential market. Making people actually use not only the device, but also kind of an easier way to control and access all the functions. Last but not least, you should really try to understand the market because each market is different. The value proposition the value added for each shareholder could be different. It is different, but you should think about who are the main shareholders. Obviously, the tenants, perhaps the general assembly of the building. Perhaps there is a facility management company, but can you add value, for example, to the facility management company? Can you share data with them about predictive maintenance? You should also think in terms of shareholders about the solution providers. So companies like MClimate, people that offer you the software, the hardware, together or apart. And you should think about your company as well, the service provider. And how you should try to plot out all those different shareholders and what is the value that you add, and what is the value chain for all of them. Then, of course, what is the correct pricing model? Are you going to be charging them each month something small, or are you interested in one-time fee and then you leave them, you just support them, for example, for again a small charge, or do you want to space out the payments for the hardware in some even payments? You should think about that because it also depends on the market specifics. One thing that works, for example, in Bulgaria, it's not going to be able to work in France, for example. Then here I'm going to also add that there are a lot of government incentives programs, funding programs by the government for energy renovation. And you should take a look at those because some of them offer quite sizable grants for energy renovation in the building, which can really make the decision for the tenants even easier. And then you should think about if there is also enterprises you can partner with, so like utilities, telecoms, because it really adds a lot of value to them as well. You can imagine that if I have let's say heating electricity provider, one company, and they give me or they install a device in my house, then if I want to change my provider, I'm going to have to think twice there. Obviously improves the brand perception as well. But think about, here I want to focus on thinking about the value chain. So who are the people involved? Where do you fit? And especially what is the pricing model, partnership model as well. That's it for me. I'm really thankful for KTN to allow me to have my presentation. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.